When I think of the word eruption, I think of the explosion of a volcano. So utilize the eruption spell in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands to turn yourself into a volcano and deal massive amounts of damage to all enemies in your wake. What's up, YouTube? Zero here, and I have the epic spell review of the eruption in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. In this video, I'll go through the overview of the eruptions that I'm using. Yes, that's right, I'm actually using 2 eruptions because I'm playing as the spell shot class. Then I'll get into some more gameplay. I'll talk about the benefits and drawbacks of utilizing eruption. Then at the end of the video, I'll get into fate or hate. Is the eruption fated to be in the inventory of the Fate Maker, or are you going to hate it and should you throw it out immediately? Before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Tiny Tina's Wonderlands content. Without further ado, let's talk about the eruption. So of course, again, I'm the spell shot, so I have 2 eruptions equipped. This is a Miraculum spell. Mine are volatile, and one I have the spitting discharging eruption, and the other I have the surging eruption. Both are volatile and deal the same amount of damage and have the same critical chance. The surging eruption has a quicker cooldown at 13 seconds. Now, both are enchanted with different enchantments. One, after getting a spell kill, gain 50% chance to shoot an additional projectile for a moderate duration. And the other, after casting a spell, your gun and melee attacks have 30% critical hit chance for a short duration. So of course, these have increased spell duration. My Surging Eruption a little bit more at 165 to 100. Both of them have 2 spell charges. The Spitting Discharging Eruption deals poison damage for a 37% chance. And my second one, my Fire Eruption, I actually get a 50% chance, which is absolutely awesome. Of course, inflicting elemental damage to enemies is always important, so you can deal more damage over time. Now, you can see when I'm casting Eruption, this casts around my body. This is a spell that casts around the user and deals damage to enemies within the vicinity. So, of course, having that spell radius as big as possible is going to deal damage to more enemies. Particularly when you're grinding through the Chaos Chamber, this is going to be important because there are a lot of rounds where enemies can surround you, and you're going to want to deal that damage as much as possible. Now, of course, my Poison Eruption actually leaves a puddle of poison damage in its wake, so Eruption does have the possibility of rolling with that, and I actually really love that because, of course, this is a spell that deals with enemies when they surround you. So leaving that puddle in your wake deals even more damage to enemies when they are surrounding you. So, of course, the eruption, again, I said this casts around the user, so it's great when hordes of enemies are surrounding you, but that brings me to one of the drawbacks. There are a lot of bosses that you're just not going to want to get up close and personal to. Salissa is one of them. Maybe you want to stay back a little bit. I know I do when I face Salissa. I want to deal with her from across the arena. So it's not going to be as beneficial, particularly against bosses, when you want to deal spell damage, but you want to stay away from those bosses. You're just not going to be able to do so, because this spell, of course, casts around the user and only deals damage to enemies within that vicinity. So bosses, you're going to be at a little disadvantage when using Eruption if you don't want to get close to the bosses. And I know a lot of times I don't. So unfortunately, that's one of the biggest downsides of utilizing Eruption. However, it is really nice when facing hordes of enemies. You can see here, all of these enemies following me, I'm able to deal a lot of damage. And that puddle I'm leaving in my wake on one of my Eruptions is really nice to deal that extra damage. So now let's get into fate or hate. Is this epic spell fated to be in the Fate Maker's hands, or should you trash it and hate it immediately? As I said before, this is really a spell that may depend on your playstyle or what you're looking for out of your spells. It's great for enemies when they come in hordes, so if you're a close and personal type player, this may be the spell for you. However, its lack of versatility is really its drawback. You can't play as a ranged player, and it's a little bit harder when you're facing bosses because a lot of bosses you may want to stay away from. So for that reason, because of its lack of versatility, even though it's a decent spell, I'm going to hate it. There are better spells in the game. But let me know in the comments section what you think of this spell, and if you're using this or if you're going to throw it away. Until next time, peace.